Namaskar friends, this is NJ, host on this channel, continuing our discussion on understanding the different planetary time period or the Mahadasha. In this video, we will try to understand the results of the 7-year-long Mahadasha of the planet Ketu and what kind of results we can expect in its time period. And friends, we will also try to get deeper into it, and within the Mahadasha of Ketu, in the Antardasha or sub-period of other planets, we will also try to understand some of the generalized or customized and anticipated results. So friends, to begin with, one note which I want to attach right at the beginning of this video or this topic is that trust me, the time period of Ketu is not an easy time. Compared to all other planetary time period, this is the time period where you have to be a little bit alert, you have to be a bit cautious, and you have to understand Ketu's role and its placement in your chart thoroughly so that you will be well prepared to tackle or handle this time period. So friends, to begin with, see, whensoever any planetary time period gets activated in our life, results get manifested on the basis of that planet's innate nature and its placement in our chart. So we will first try to understand little bit about the nature and functioning of Ketu. So Ketu in Vedic astrology can be seen as the eldest amongst all the planets. Ketu holds the wisdom of all the cosmos. Not only that, it has also got the account and access to all of the deeds done by you in the past lifetimes. Ketu is a highly spiritual planet. When we talk about the spiritual force, the psychic force in your subconsciousness, we talk about sixth sense, we talk about asceticism, the difficult path of spirituality, which is filled with lackness, which is filled with all kind of tests. So all those people who have got the support or a very strengthened Ketu, they only can progress in the path of spirituality, because Ketu is only inclined towards your soul spiritual elevation. Ketu doesn't have anything to do with materialism. All what it wants is to make your soul and drive a union of your soul with the supreme soul. So friends, when we talk about the way Ketu function in Vedic astrology, so the only reason why we have to remain cautious or alert at the time period of Ketu is that because Ketu is a very intense force. When we talk about the force, intensity or unpredictability, there is no other planet which is equal to Ketu. Because the story goes like this. There was a demon by the name of Swarbhanu. His head was cut into his head was decapitated and was separated from his body. So the head part was known as the Rahu. So Rahu has got, just because it is the head portion of the demon, so it has got all form of deceit, all kind of scheming, plotting in his head. But when we talk about the body portion of Ketu, it only has the heart to actually think, completely attuned to the soul. So the way Ketu function is that it just wants your spiritual progress in this lifetime, and in order to connect you to your soul purpose or your purpose in this lifetime, even if he has to bring all kind of difficulties, all kind of agonies, all kind of pain, so trust me, it is not going to hesitate in afflicting all those kind of pain in your life. When we talk about the time period of Saturn, like everyone is fearful of Saturn, but you have to understand this thing that in whichsoever way or intention, Saturn is going to be working in your life, in your chart. So Saturn is a slow moving planet. If it is hard bent on bringing chaos or destruction in your life, or it is hard bent on giving you greatness, making you reach the peak of your chosen field, it is going to start working slowly, giving you indication, is going to make you well prepared. It might give you experienced knowledge as well at the same time. But when it comes down to Ketu, the way Ketu work, it's one strike and it can completely change the course of your life. All those people in whose case sudden and complete U-turn comes, major accident, major chaos, sudden unexpected lottery win, so you will definitely see some of the connection with the functioning of Ketu in all those cases. So friends, to begin with, when we talk about Ketu's relation with other planets, so definitely the way Ketu function, its functioning can be seen as more intense force compared to the planet Mars. And not only that, it also co-rules one of the sign of Mars, which is Scorpio. So it is friendly with Mars. The second planet which Ketu pays heed to, or which holds the potential or capability of controlling the energy of Ketu, that is the planet Jupiter. So just because Ketu is also a significator of liberation and moksha, so that is the only reason it is seen as, or generally Ketu behaves and function well in any of the Jupiterian influence. Whether Ketu is placed in Jupiter's signs like Sagittarius or Pisces, or it is conjunct with Jupiter, or it is being aspected by Jupiter, so Jupiterian influence holds this power to control the energies of Ketu in Vedic astrology. So that is something, friends, which I wanted to tell you about the general signification of Ketu. Now the moment its time period is going to get activated in your life, so that is definitely going to be a time period where you have to remain little bit cautious, because Ketu is a sudden intense force and it is a very detaching energy. So because of which, in whichsoever house in your chart Ketu is going to be placed in, that house is going to get activated. This is definitely going to be a time period where you can have the access to all the spiritual realm, to all other dimension. This is definitely going to be a time when you will get rid of all of your karmic debt. This is definitely going to be a time when you can attain perfection. You can go to the depth of the house or the area which that particular house represents, where Ketu is going to be placed in your chart. And at the same time, friends, when it comes down to judging the Dasha of Rahu and Ketu, it becomes a nemesis for all the psychics, because Ketu and Rahu, they do not have got a rulership of any signs. So because of which, wheresoever Ketu's sign or house lord is going to be placed, you have to scrutinize that house as well, because basis that you will get to know that in which condition, which state Ketu is going to function in your life. Trust me on this thing, Ketu is going to make you a perfectionist if it is going to be function in a very benefic way in your life, wheresoever Ketu is going to be placed. And whichsoever house Ketu's house lord is going to be placed, your talents are definitely going to be connected with the signification of that house. So let's say, for example, if in positive case, for a Aries ascendant native, if you will find Ketu to be present in the third house. So third house matters, where there is lot of attention given to your skills, given to communication and your own self-initiated efforts, courage and valor. And one thing, friends, I forgot to mention this thing, that Ketu also makes someone fearless. If you will find it functioning in a benefic way, it can actually make someone fearless, can give all sorts of honor, all sorts of fame, lasting fame. And if it will be working in a negative way, or if you will find Ketu to be extremely afflicted in someone's chart, so trust me on this thing, Ketu holds the potential and capacity of making someone a very dreaded criminal. So now coming back to the example which I was giving it to you. So for an Aries ascendant native, if you will find Ketu to be present in the third house, so it is definitely going to make someone very critical regarding the matters of the third house. And the third house lord for a Aries ascendant, which is going to be the planet Mercury, so if it is going to be placed in the fifth house, so definitely natives' talent are going to be surrounded around the fields of artistic and creative fields. So that is how you can see or correlate the energies of the Ketu. So now, friends, coming to our today's discussion, that the moment Ketu's Mahadasha is going to begin. So first of all, see, if you are not born in the Dasha of Ketu, like for example, if your moon nakshatra is not of Ketu, like you are not born with your moon nakshatra as Ashwini, Magha, Mula, so that means you might be going through the Mahadasha or planetary time period of Mercury before that. So Mercury time period can be seen as a time period of curiosity, knowledge, communication, travel. I have also seen so many people who benefit and gain a lot of financial weightage and value at the time period of Mercury. But the moment you are going to enter the time period of Ketu, or the Ketu Dasha is going to begin in your life, trust me, suddenly you can fairly see the weight of transformation, the weight of being getting very responsible towards your duties suddenly started coming to you. And like the way I was telling it to you, the way Ketu work or Ketu function, it is a very extreme force which is not even open to any sort of negotiation. When we talk about the planetary time period of like other planets, you can do remedies, you can still pacify it, but the way Ketu function, its force is very intense. So if in your chart Ketu is not very well placed, so it will be very advisable for you to give attention to your gut feel, listen to your soul, and completely get rid of any sort of deceit. Like Ketu is a planet which actually gets more agitated if you will try to do any kind of manipulation, if you will have a very indulgent lifestyle, or if you will always eye for other people's property, other people's money. So in those kind of situations and scenarios, Ketu time period can actually bring lot of fury in someone's life. But trust me friends, if you are completely attuned to your own spiritual progress, you live a very selfless life where you are always devoted towards other people's good, you are very much connected with your gurus, with your religion, with your belief. So the time period of Ketu can actually bring good fortune and can actually bless you with good titles and good position at the same time. So that is one thing friends which I wanted to tell you as a part of how to deal with Ketu's Dasha of 7 years. The second way to look at is that if you actually want to follow any remedy, so the best remedy to control the energies of Ketu is worship of Lord Ganesha. Lord Ganesha, who is by himself is seen as the remover of all kind of obstacles. So worship of Lord Ganesha, any of the Anushthan of devoted to Lord Ganesha can be seen as one of the best time in order to appease and pacify the energies of Ketu. Friends, one more thing here is that, let's say for example, if you are very much inclined and devoted towards spiritual path, towards spiritual progress, so the time period of Ketu is definitely going to be a time when that window of your subconsciousness is definitely going to be ripe enough to imbibe and absorb all the intuitive and spiritual energies from the universe. But here again, I want to warn you that if you actually are very much inclined towards awakening your Kundalini or actually getting on a higher state on your spiritual progress, so it will be very advisable for you to do it under the guidance of a awakened master. But let's say for example, if you're already going through the time period of Ketu and Ketu is present in your 8th house, it is present in your 12th house, that too in the water signs, and without the guidance of a master, you try to experiment with the Kundalini, you try to experiment with any of the spiritual intuitive mediums. So this could be little bit hazardous for you, because this is actually going to be the time period where I have seen many people who remain very much vulnerable towards the spirit possession as well. So that also you have to give attention. But trust me on this thing friends, if you will find Ketu to be well dignified in your chart, in the time period or in the Dasha of Ketu, definitely wisdom is going to dawn upon you, your intuition, your gut feel is definitely going to guide you, and some good spiritual progress and good karma can be accumulated in the time period or in the Dasha of Ketu. Out of all other planets, it is the only time period of Ketu where in a short span of time, very big substantial spiritual progress can be made. Now, this could be in the form of getting the guidance or seeking refuge in some enlightened person's guidance, or this could be attainment of some siddhis. So all those things can materialize during this time period of Ketu. Taking our discussion to the next section friends, now if you want to understand the different planetary sub-period or antardasha within the Mahadasha of the planet Ketu, so obviously the Dasha of Ketu is going to begin with the Antardasha of Ketu only. So now the first phase of the Dasha of any planet is going to be the time when that planetary grip is going to remain very strong in our lives. So if you are not born in the Dasha of Ketu, that means you have been going through the time period of Mercury before that, a planet which is very frivolous, which is very curious, very playful. So the moment your Ketu Dasha is going to begin, where the control of your life is going to go and shift in the hands of a very old, very wise, very mature, very disciplined and a karmic planet. So you will definitely find that I have seen all those cases where the Dasha of Ketu generally begins with some sort of transformation. Now, it doesn't mean that the transformation is always bound to happen for creating difficulty in our life. This could happen for your own good at the same time, whether you want to understand it on a material level or whether you want to understand it from a spiritual perspective. And guys, this is definitely going to be the time period when your free will is going to be little bit less. You will start getting this feeling that I am somehow losing control over life. So now here comes the role of spirituality, that all those people with a enlightened and very elevated spiritual state, they will be able to understand the cosmic role in these kind of signification and circumstances. But all those people who are not that much evolved, they might start panicking. So that is going to be a time period where you have to have a very firm grip on the circumstances of your life. So the Ketu Mahadasha and the Ketu Antardasha is definitely going to be a time period when Ketu will start bringing its results. I've seen all those people who start getting epiphanies, they start getting realization. People generally think about shifting back to their home country, to their homeland. Some people come in contacts with spiritual gurus or spiritually elevated stature people. So that is how the Ketu Dasha generally begins in the lives of the people, but that is just the positive case. But let's say, for example, if in your chart Ketu is present in a very difficult state, for example, you have Ketu conjunct with a already agitated Mars, or Ketu is present in the 8th house with the aspect of Saturn, where Jupiter is not at all influencing the Ketu's placement, then you have to remain bit watchful, bit cautious, and this is going to be the time when you should start doing remedies connected with Ketu. Friends, moving ahead. Now the next Antardasha is going to be of Venus. So when we talk about the Antardasha of Venus, so to begin with, Ketu doesn't have much to do with the material success or financial success in this lifetime, but Ketu always holds the potential and power to give fame. I mean to say, I've generally seen all those situations and cases where if in your case Ketu has got some of the karmic or intuitive combination or connection in your chart, so all those people who have some of the past life connection with their partners, they generally invite all those kind of energy. See friends, you have to understand this thing that Rahu and Ketu both are the karmic planets. So in the time period of Rahu, we generally meet all those souls who owe us something. They come in our life and they give that to us. But when we talk about the time period of Ketu, it is the time period where we owe something to someone, and those people come to our lives and they take it back from us. So with the Antardasha of Venus, you have to remain little bit watchful, little bit cautious. If in your case Ketu is placed in the 7th house of relationship, or Ketu is connected with the 7th house lord, then in those kind of circumstances and situation, and your 7th house lord is not well placed even in the Navamsa, so in those kind of situation Ketu can create some difficulty in the relationship. But via creating those kind of difficulties, it might giving you a chance to make you more detail oriented regarding your responsibilities in the relationship, so you can look at it in a positive light at the same time. So the concerns of relationship are definitely going to be a forefront in the Antardasha of Venus. But trust me friends, if there is not going to be any 6, 8, 12 combination of Mahadasha Lord and the Antardasha Lord, for example, from the placement of Ketu, if Venus is in a Trikona placement, like 5 houses ahead of it or 9 houses ahead of it, well placed, dignified placed, then in those kind of situation or circumstances, due to the contribution of your partner, some spiritual insights can actually dawn upon your life. The next Antardasha is going to be of the planet Sun. Like the way friends, the symbol connected with Ketu is of a flag. Flag, which in itself is a significator of honor, is a significator of fame and glory. So because of which, if in your chart Ketu is well placed and the distance from Ketu and Sun is also in a dignified state, during this time period, some lasting fame, some good titles, authority, accomplishments, achievements, which might have straight connection with enhancing your public image in the society. So those kind of signification or situation or circumstances can actually happen in the life of the native. And friends, if in your chart your Antardasha lord like Sun is not very well placed in the chart, so as you know that Ketu functions and works in a very extreme fashion. So then in those kind of situation, loss of title or some sort of defamation, some sort of allegation, so those kind of situation or circumstances can also happen. So you have to give attention the way Ketu is functioning, the way Ketu's Dasha has started in your life, and how Sun is placed in your chart. Moving ahead friends, now the next Antardasha is going to be of Moon. Trust me friends, within this 7-year-long Dasha of Ketu, this is going to be a time period when the window of your subconsciousness is going to be wide open to invite and absorb all the divine and cosmic energies. This is going to be the time period when wisdom can dawn upon you, some realization, some epiphany, some spiritual insights can happen, can materialize. Friends, trust me, this is going to be the time period where if in your case spiritual progress, spiritual curiosity, any kind of sadhana qualifies, so you will be able to get access to your soul. I mean to say, this is going to be the time period when you will start finding yourself separate, your body separate from the soul. You will get this realization that the body has been provided to your soul in order to do or fulfill a certain task in this lifetime, which is about getting rid of all of your karmic debts and actually increase the vibration of your consciousness to such an extent that it can start levitating. It will start elevating towards the supreme consciousness. So that kind of highly ripe, elevated spiritual state is something which you can see as a theme of this Antardasha within the Mahadasha of Ketu. Now the only problem is that if you are not that much attuned towards your own energies and you are still very much materially inclined in this lifetime, and if your moon is not very well guarded, so I have also seen all those people who rather than making best use of this opportunity, they start getting agitated, they start getting anxious, and they start taking wrong decisions because of their inability to handle this pent up nervous energy. This is going to be very ripe time when the worship of Lord Shiva can actually grant you very good spiritual insights. Moving ahead friends, now if you want to understand the Antardasha of Mars, so this is definitely going to be a time period when the thrust and force of energy is going to be very strong in your life. Now it all comes down to how well and dignified Mars is placed in your chart. But trust me, wheresoever Ketu is going to be placed in your chart, with the contribution and support of another fiery planet, you are actually going to fulfill the task which Ketu is hard bent to do in your life, basis its placement and its dignity in the chart, where the support and energy of Mars is definitely going to help you. So this time period I have generally seen working well in all those people who are directly connected with the Martian field. So let's say for example, you have been working hard and your field is of law, of any of the policing, law enforcing field, or you are even in politics, or even in some of the spiritual sphere, you are holding some designation, so some sort of additional responsibility, power, accomplishment, achievement, titles can actually materialize in this time period of Antardasha of Mars. But if in your chart Mars is not well placed, or Mars is in a difficult state in the 6th house or in the 12th house, this is going to be the time period where enemies are actually going to be in a very empowered state. So you have to follow proper remedies during this Antardasha of Mars. Moving ahead friends, now if you want to understand the Antardasha of Rahu within the Mahadasha of Ketu. So friends, this is going to be the most karmic time where your free will is actually going to be complete zero. So I would recommend that during this time period, try not to fight with your destiny. Try not to fight with your ongoing governing circumstances. The more you are going to surrender yourself, the more you are going to work or function in a selfless way, for the good of the society, for the soul and spiritual development of yours, trust me, you can handle and you can tame this dasha or antar dasha of Rahu. Otherwise, for all those people in whose case the axis of Rahu and Ketu is well placed, like for example, you have Ketu placed in your 12th house, Rahu placed in the 6th house, or you have like Ketu placed in your like 9th house, Rahu placed in the 3rd house, and even from the sign perspective, they are well placed. Ketu is present in the Jupiterian signs, Rahu is present in the Mercurian sign, or even in any of their friendly signs or in their friendly influence. So in those kind of scenarios and circumstances, if in your case any of the IT related field qualify, you are in any of the artistic creative field, you are connected with politics, so some good recognition in a very unpredictable sudden way can be achieved. And moving ahead friends, now if you want to understand the sub period or antar dasha of Jupiter, so friends, this is definitely going to be the time period where the force or the karmic energy of Ketu is going to be well guided by the wisdom and benevolence of Jupiter. So in terms of getting knowledge, in terms of progressing in the life, see, you cannot even say this thing that in the Mahadasha of Ketu marriages cannot happen, or progeny, or happiness from progeny cannot be attained. These kind of signification and events can also happen. It is being believed that all those people who even die in the dasha of Ketu, they attain moksha. So you might remain lucky or remain blessed in getting into all those ties, or getting those kind of mentors, or running into that partner, or having a or getting the blessing and happiness of a progeny with whom you might have some past life connection. So for the accumulation of like knowledge, expansion of family, and for the healthy hearty events in your family, in your life, this sub period of Jupiter can be seen as a very blessed time in the Mahadasha of the planet Ketu. Coming to the Saturn Antardasha, so friends, this is going to be the time period when you will realize, you will learn the beauty of being in peace with yourself. Like I've seen all those people who get a chance to be in those spiritual retreats, or because of the force of circumstances, they might have to spend time alone, away from their family, because of the development at their career front, or changes, transformation which come at their career front. So that is how you can correlate the energies of the Antardasha of Saturn, which gives you this opportunity to understand the beauty which lies in being alone and meditating and contemplating on your own energies, your own breathing and your own thoughts. It cannot be said that the growth cannot be attained during this particular Antardasha, or career related growth cannot happen. That can materialize, but at the same time, this is going to be the time period where one planet which represents intensity, another planet which represents little bit of the delay and slowness, and expect you to be disciplined. So if you are going to be completely spiritually inclined, you have meditation, yoga and religious austerities as a part of your lifestyle, so good success can be attained. Good wisdom and good wise counsel can actually help you during this time period. So that is how you can see and correlate the sub period of Saturn in the Mahadasha of Ketu. But friends, let's say for example, if Saturn is not well placed in your chart and there is some sort of karmic alignment which is happening, so this is actually the time period where people remain very much vulnerable towards getting entangled in any of the evil eye influence. So there you have to remain bit cautious, like how your actions are being perceived in the society. Are you being the epicenter or target of other people's enmity, other people's jealousy? So you have to remain bit cautious during this particular time period. And moving ahead friends, and last, when we talk about the Antardasha of Mercury, so this is definitely going to be a time period where I have seen people who generally benefit, who generally gain in their commercial and business activities, because Ketu is a planet which takes you to the depth of whichsoever area it is influencing in your life basis its placement in the chart. And Mercury, which has got innate curiosity, quest for knowledge, Ketu also represents perfectionism. So because of which during this time period, if in your case Mercurian occupation, livelihood is straight away getting qualified. You are a merchant, you are in any of the communication related profile, in sales, media, marketing. So all these people can get benefited only if they are working with eye for detail, with complete dedication and devotion towards their craft. So good results can be acquired, can be attained. So friends, these are the general guidelines or theme of the 7-year-long Dasha of Ketu. Before I will conclude this video, I will say the same thing, that the Dasha of Ketu is a very sensitive time. You can make it a blessing in your life by actually elevating your spiritual conscious awareness, or you could actually make it the worst suffering time for you only if you will not be able to understand the divine intuitive potential of Ketu, which is going to bring in your life during its operational time. So for further more updates and notifications on the divine science of astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Thank you.